Well, I'm back at the clay pit, and my arrival has attracted most of the bird life in the area. I've got the swan that caused me all the trouble last time, and I've also got 3 geese who are almost pecking at my trousers. Anyway, so we're here. There's a lot of carp folk here. There's bivvies all along the bank, so the spot I was aiming for I can't get to, but I'm in the little corner. There are a few lily pads now since the last time I came, and hopefully we can make something of it. It was quite a challenge getting here. For those of you who have been watching earlier videos, you will know I've been complaining about my hip. Well, things have got much worse. It was really a struggle getting ready to come out today, and lots of pain. Took a long time, but I was going stir crazy. I've been in the house for 3 or 4 weeks now, and I just needed to get out. So it's about 12:30, so a very late arrival, but we're here. Well, I've just got set up, and I opened the bread to put a bit on the hook, and these geese here are obviously well and truly educated to recognise a loaf of bread, because they as soon as they saw the packet of bread, they've come up and they've settled next to me. So this is going to be very interesting today. I'm not actually sure whether I should have come today, but I'm just absolutely fed up with being indoors, and the weather looked good, and I thought let's give it a go. Now, I didn't catch anything last time here, but that was a few weeks ago. Since then, it's got much more vegetation on display, a lot more green, a lot less brown, and the lily pads are now in sight or visible. So I'm not in the place I wanted to fish, because you might be able to see a chap standing over there. The carp guys all along that bank where I fished last time. So this one is literally almost next to the car, which suits me fine at the moment. I'm actually walking now with a walking stick. It's too painful to walk without a walking stick, and I already travel very light tackle wise, but I've had to even reduce it further, because I need a spare hand to carry to use the walking stick. So I now have a gadget bag with all my sort of necessary tackle in it. I use a weigh bag to carry my landing net, which folds up fortunately, bait and various other bits and pieces, and because it's got long handles on it, I can actually loop that over my head and carry it like a shoulder bag. And the little seat I'm sitting on also has a strap, so I can carry that over my shoulder, and the rod and the landing net handle obviously in my right hand, while the walking stick goes in the left. So as I say, it's been quite a challenge getting here today, but it's good. It's good to be here, because I've been sitting indoors trying to find things to do, and drive me absolutely crackers. Well, if I was expecting a bite on the first cast, that's not happened. I've plumbed the depth, and I'm at depth, maybe just a little bit deeper. And the dropper shot is about halfway up the line, or perhaps not quite halfway up, but it's up high enough for the bread to sink very slowly. So I was hoping there might be some rudd in there, or roach, that would intercept it on the way down. I've only bought a small loaf of bread today. I didn't bother with anything else. I just went in the supermarket, picked up a small loaf of bread, The hemp and the sweet corn didn't do anything last time, neither did the luncheon meat. Given that I guess these birds here, judging by the way they're sitting peacefully next to me waiting, or patiently waiting, I guess the birds here get fed quite a lot of bread, so I thought today I would bring bread, as some of it might end up floating to the bottom. And yeah, I thought that might be a good idea. But as I say, if I was expecting rapid action, it hasn't happened. Trouble is, if I get the bread out to throw some, I did throw some free offerings in at the beginning, and no sooner I got the bread out and it was in my hand, these birds, the swan, the geese, they knew exactly what it was, and they were literally around my feet. It was unbelievable. So it's a bit tricky baiting up at the moment. Anyway, it doesn't really matter whether I catch anything today, because I just wanted to get out of the house for a few hours, and it's a lovely day. It's sort of hazy sun rather than bright sun. It's quite mild. As you can see, there's very little wind, so it's really lovely conditions. But whether the fish oblige is another matter. Let's see if the bread's still there. Yeah. Well, obviously that may not be, my strategy might not be as clever as I thought it was. It's an interesting little bay, this. It's a strange lake really, because it's got all these like bars going out with reeds growing on them and birds nesting in them, which is really good for the wildlife. And in between them, it's pretty deep. As I said the last time I came here, it's a old clay pit, and the clay being dug out to build the dikes in the area many years ago. Hi there. Well, I think I've got 3 friends for life there. I haven't fed them anything, but they're obviously high in expectation. They're dropping off at the moment, but every time I rustle the bread packet, they're alert and they're expecting feeding, so it's making it very difficult really. I just had a chat with a guy who wasn't fishing, but he's obviously someone who fishes here, and he said they're a really good tension here. He's had them up to over £6. Not what I was expecting today, obviously, but I was talking to him about the weed on the bottom, and he sort of confirmed my idea of having a long, unshotted length of line up to the hook, and then letting the bait drop down. He also said that I should try, perhaps, if I'm not particularly after tench, which I'm not, try fishing shallow, or the shallower depth for the rod. So I've just pulled the float down somewhat. Trouble is, every time I throw in some bait, I'm afraid the birds react. It's a bit of a challenge really. See the big ducks, or whatever they are, geese. I think they're ducks, aren't they? The ducks have woken up immediately. Unfortunately they're not shifting, so I'm a bit shallower now. See what happens here. See if there's anything at mid-water that might give me a bit of sport. Oh well. That might give me the opportunity to put a bit more bait in, because we see the geese are calling each other, and the ones that are opposite me have all responded, except for one over there. So, can't really see my float where I've cast it. It's in between the sort of shadows of the trees, and oh, that's better. Let's get it right next to the lily pads and see what happens. No, I've only been here about half an hour, but I've got plenty of bird company, but they're just waiting to be fed. I've reverted to fishing over depth. I never got a touch fishing mid-water, so I'm now over depth again, and I thought the pellets I've thrown in, if they haven't been taken on the drop, which it appears they haven't, given that the bait I put in wasn't taken, they should all be on the bottom there out by those lily pads. So I thought I'd go over depth again, and I've left quite a long length of unshotted line, so hopefully the bread's lying on top of any soft weed that's on the bottom. I haven't been bringing up any weed, so perhaps it's not quite as bad here. The other problem I've had here is people keep coming and talking to me. I'm only here for a few hours, and I've spent half of the time I've been here up to now talking to people. So anyway, and my 3 ducks are now really contented. I've come to the conclusion that this spot is their normal roosting place, so it's not just a matter of me feeding them, it's a matter of me being where they normally live. It's interesting, there are a number of very small fish breaking the surface. I guess they're small fish, little ripples out there, but nothing touched the bread at all when perhaps I should go even shallower next time, try that next time. Literally just under the surface. I don't know if you heard that noise, but it was the duck having a number 2. From what everybody says, this seems to be a bit of a tench venue, which is nice. The first guy I spoke to, I mentioned previously, he said he had had tench to over 6 pounds. But he also said that the carp guys had taken them to over 10, obviously while fishing for carp, which is a mighty big tench. I think the problem is that there might be big carp in here and big tench in here, but the fish population, it's a natural lake by and large, I think, although I think some carp were introduced here, but it's a natural lake, and because of that it's a bit more challenging than a heavily stocked one, obviously. I've only bought bread today. I wasn't sure whether I was going to come or not. I sort of get up in the morning and it's all a bit hard work. Everything's stiff and difficult to move and painful, and anyway, it eased off a bit, so I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. But all I did was pop in the supermarket and buy a small loaf, a small thick slice loaf. So that's the only bait I've got today, nothing else. So if they don't like bread, I'm stuck. Well, my three friends are, or at least two of them, absolutely fast asleep. They're extremely trusting. They're only about 3 or 4 feet from me. Yeah, they're just laying there asleep. Amazing, really. They obviously get fed a lot here by probably non-anglers. Anyway, the reason I switched on the video, it suddenly occurred to me as I was sitting here watching the float do absolutely nothing, that this lake might be an ideal candidate for trying a bit of fly fishing for rudd. The only problem would be, of course, is getting a back cast. There's some spots over the other side where there's more room. I mean, this spot here, I'm completely surrounded by trees and bushes, so short of doing what they do, what do they call it, a catapult cast or something. And I'm not really that good at fly fishing, so but it just occurred to me, it's because if you try to fish surface bred here, you wouldn't get anywhere at all, because all you'll catch is ducks and swans and things. But if you just put a little fly out, it might be quite interesting, really. So something to think about for the future. Well, it's 2:30, and an interesting little development next to me on my fishing cloth. We have a damselfly, I think it is. I hope you can see that. But the interesting thing is, it has literally just come out of its skin, which is quite fascinating, and it's obviously still in recovery mode, because it's in no hurry to fly away when I pick it up. It's quite fascinating, really. Anyway, gently put him back on there, and hope I don't have to use the cloth, which is probably going to be the case, because there hasn't been any action since I last spoke to you. What I have started doing now, and it's given me some bites, I'm fishing about 2 foot below the surface, probably 18 inches below the surface with bread, which is obviously attracting something, but they're probably minuscule, because the float hasn't actually completely gone under once, but they're obviously nibbling away at the edge of the bread flake. I probably can't see it on this camera without a zoom, but there's obviously a shoal of small ones there having a nibble at the bread flake. Whether I'm going to be lucky enough that there might be something a bit bigger join them and actually take the flake in its entirety remains to be seen. But I had been fishing on the bottom for over an hour. I didn't disturb the float, I just literally left it there, and not a touch. So I decided perhaps that was, for a short visit like this, that was going to be perhaps a waste of time. So I thought perhaps there are a few rudd swimming around in the upper levels, and sure enough there is interest, but as I say, I think small is the operative word. Too small. Probably if I had a 18 or 20 hook with a single maggot on, I might get away with it, but I think I've got 14 on at the moment with bread flake. And the last time I brought the float in, what I do is I pinch the bread on the shank and leave the bottom of it loose and fluffy. And when I last brought the float in, the pinched bit was still there, but all the fluffy bits had gone. So I guess these are literally little tiddlers, but you never know. There might be something swimming around up there that is a bit more respectable. I suppose at the end of the day, at least there are fish. Because the last trip here, or my first trip here, I didn't catch a thing, didn't have a bite. It's a fairly idyllic spot, this. It's really, I mean, I'm not catching anything, but it really is nice. You know, plenty of features, plenty of bird life. You can probably hear all the singing going on. You know. Oh, there are the 3 ducks over there. Don't you can see them. They're over the back there. They've obviously gone for a swim. This float hasn't stopped moving for the last 10 minutes. It's bobbing around. They're probably about half an inch long, these fish, and gratefully nibbling at the edges of the bread. Oh, nearly went under then. But I think the only chance of me hooking something is when it not just dips down, it's got to actually fly away, but I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I think this is a job for a short pole and a size 20 or 22 hook and a caster or something. Oh, it actually went under then, but I didn't get it, as you noticed. Still, you never know. As I say, I'm only fishing, it's about the 6th attempt to catch this. I'm only fishing, what, I don't know, 18 inches? But at least there's something there at 18 inches. Yeah, my damselfly is still getting ready for its maiden flight. Quite fascinating, really. Yeah, as I say, I sort of pinch it on the top of the shank and leave the bottom open, and it all obviously fluffs out in the water, which they enjoy nibbling. But, as I say, I think they're too small to... Well, I've gone back on the bottom again because despite getting constant activity on the float when I fished shallow, they were obviously fish that were far too small to actually swallow the bait. They were just nibbling at it, so I'm not going to stay too late. I'll probably pack up in about 3/4 of an hour, so I thought I'd for the last spell I'd put it back on the bottom, so if something turns up, it turns up. If not, that will be it, really. It's interesting, there's a lot of fly on the surface at the moment. I haven't noticed anything rising to it, but there's a hatch of fly on the surface. It'd be interesting if before I leave, if I see if anything comes up for it. But I think the fish near the surface are literally tiddlers. That's about it for today. I've got a bit stiff and I'm starting to ache, and I'll probably suffer if I stay here much longer. So it's only been 3 hours, but I've enjoyed it. It's been very pleasant. It's a very natural environment, surrounded by wildlife, too much in fact at times, but no fish, but an enjoyable 3 hours, and I think it's about time to say goodbye. Not sure when I'll get out again. A lot depends on what happens with my medical situation. It may be I can get out again in a week or two, or it may be that I'm laid up for quite a bit longer. But I'll do an update from the house if I can't get out, just to let you know what's happening. Anyway, thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.